Also, though, they're acting upset that they can't align, that won't align with them. Haven't they been calling us fucking groomers and like all kinds of shit for fucking years now? What happened to that? What? They just don't care about that anymore? Huh? But what? And now they're like, we want to work with you, and we feel sad because you don't want to fucking work with us because we're fucking fascists.
Think that just because a guy reads comics, he can't start.
Okay, let's break down what's being said here. Is Mark Waid saying he wants to see the industry burn down? No. Is it even possible for the industry to burn down? No. All of this stems from the whole Glenn O'Leary, writers don't care about comics and it's their fault that comics aren't selling like they used to. They don't care about them. They're writing themselves into the character. All these crazy, or I guess not crazy. They're his opinions. They're not fact. Mark Millar deciding he's going to do a little grifty poo based on that. Probably because his own, little empire has not been doing so well. That's true, Sketchy. That's true. So what we've got here is failure to communicate. Nobody that understands even the basics of the industry really thinks that writers are responsible for the problems with the industry right now. It's like a baby's fucking level of understanding. There are complex, myriad factors. I mean, it's the same thing as like, chuds that say, oh, these, movies aren't doing as well this year because of wokeness or whatever. When it's like, no, there's, it has more to do with people's changing consumption and, and prices and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's actually insane to actually think that. So that's the other part of the thing I wanted to talk about today. That is, I've been seeing it a lot more, due to this discourse currently ongoing. The fact that not only, so there are a bunch of people, in the alt right, the far right, the right wing, whatever. It's all the same kind of amorphous, proto or neo fascism now. But there's a lot of people that they understand fully that what they're saying is bullshit, but there's some that don't. And there are some who they actually do believe, like for instance, this is the thing that I've seen popping up. People saying, "Oh, you'd actually let the industry burn down just because we have some disagreements." Well, hold on, man. We have some disagreements, and ultimately, I guess, yeah, the disagreements are the reason that I don't want to ally with you. But just leaving it at that is pretty fucking disingenuous. Who's ever heard the states' rights argument about the Civil War? Raise your hand if you have. The Civil War wasn't about slavery. It was about states' rights. You heard that? States' rights to what? And it's the same thing here. The whole, oh, you'd let the industry burn because we disagree, is the exact same tactic as the attempt to make the Civil War seem like a states' rights issue. States' rights to what? Disagree on what? That's the thing, that's fucking weasel shit. The fact that they don't want to say it because they know. Some of them know. And then some people I don't think do fully realize it. But so many of these people actually think that what they're doing is not racism, that it's not bigotry at all. That actually the left are the ones that are being racist because they see, for one thing, they don't understand what equity means. And so they think that, saying, hey, we should stop and consider how historical power imbalances in the system have, kept, African American communities down. And they'll hear me say that and they'll say, oh, you're saying that all black people are, can't get ahead in life, or they're just like, it's like, nope, we're talking about statistically here, man. I know you don't these guys don't do so well with statistics. unless it's like 1350 or something, but then they're misunderstanding that as well. Um, but by and large, they will rely on anecdotes, because that's a feelings based thing. You know, some of them are legit confused. They actually think that we're the racist ones simply because we even mention race at all. They think in their mind it's the whole colorblind argument, which I used to say that dumb shit when I was younger. I'm sure a lot of you did. Like, I don't see color, like, of course you fucking do. It's disingenuous, and there's something weird going on whenever you say that, unless you literally are colorblind. But you know, to not acknowledge that someone has a different lived experience from you is a fucking problem. You know, to not acknowledge that black people are only like what, a few generations away from when their ancestors were owned, and even since they've been not owned, there's still been a lot of cringe, guys, a lot of cringe. But we're racist because we want to acknowledge that, and to talk about ways that we can implement equity. Like, well, okay, yeah, we've been fucking up for a long time, sure. um just because we freed slaves doesn't mean that we solved all the problems. There's still been problems. um it's the responsible thing to do, the honest thing to do, the wise thing to do, and then also solutions based, like it's shown. There's been results have been shown to come from enacting solutions that deal with these types of things. um but we're the racists because we even mention it. Because in their minds, racism is having to acknowledge people of different skin color. Racism is trying to say, let's actually, we're sexist because we think trans women are women, because they are. It's right there in the thing, trans women. I mean, it's kind of silly. Somebody's like, you think trans women are women? Yeah. So you just said they were, because you said trans women. So, blonde women are women too. Big butt women are women. They really are. Slavery was only like 4 or 5 people ago. Jesus Christ. It's That's a funny way to say it, but I get why you're saying it that way, and it does. Yeah. Yeah, hate has always been evil and fucked up. I think that, honestly, and maybe this is controversial, I think we need to, us people on the left, you know, uh, uh, I think we need to maybe acknowledge that there is a distinction between hate and then just this indoctrinated, learned, programmed apathy. And that doesn't mean that the results are any different, because they really aren't. The result is basically the same. But some of these people, I don't think are hateful. They have been fucking intentionally all twisted up. They've taken their ignorance and their apathy have been manipulated to, make them allies of hate. And that's, I think, what what we're going to have to come to address as a society. Like, we got to figure out, how do we got to stop? We got to untwist that shit. Is what I'm saying making any sense? Is that super controversial to say? Because, I mean, I think you do have to have different. I think you do have to have a different term, or because if they're not the same thing, which I don't think they are at the core, or at their cause aren't the same. To a person of color, it doesn't matter, and I want to make that fucking very clear. The result of someone being hateful, like, I fucking hate black people or whatever, and then someone who's just like, I don't fucking think you really have is all the problems that you say you do, or I don't think that these things are really problems anymore, or whatever. The result of that can be kind of the same, which is just, oh, so people are not fucking in favor of my fucking rights or lived experience. That sucks. But in order to properly address them, there's ways to address hate. There are people who specialize in kind of like unwinding that fucking hate thing that people get all wrapped up around. Um, but I think we also have to address the unwinding of the apathy thing, right? Um, and being told that like I just don't even worry about it, like because that's like a more of it's a passive hate, I guess if you say that about it, sure. I don't know. I feel like I'm whew, uh-oh, might have stepped in it. As some people are rightly pointing out right now.
Look at all these slave masters posing on your dollar. Get it? Yeah. Look at all these slave masters posing on your dollar. Get it?
God damn, Bob. Shit. Holy shit. That's whoa. Yeah, and that's what I've tried to say too. Whenever people are like, "Oh, is it racist to say this or whatever?" And it's like inherently, I don't know. I mean, it's not my place to say, but like, I remember a couple of years ago, it was right whenever I started YouTube, there was kind of discourse going on within the breadtube components, um, whether or not it's okay for like a white guy to say the N word while singing along to hip hop songs in his car alone in his home privately. Is that racist? Um, I mean, I don't do it. I actually challenge myself to find other words. So I like saying fella. That makes me laugh whenever I'm. If you replace the N word with fella, you'll have a good time. I promise you, you'll have a good time. But is it racist in the sense that like if you guys watch my content enough, you know what I'm about. I'm about harm. About harming motherfuckers. No, I'm about like my standard for like generally starts with, does this create harm for people or individuals or groups of people or anything, right? So does it harm anyone for a white guy to say the N word privately while singing along to a song exclusively in that context? I don't know. You know, I wouldn't do it, but it's definitely not the same thing as like going out and saying it in public, around a bunch of black people. Um, which could, definitely, I mean, what does that do? It's essentially I mean, it does. It's otherizing people. It's gatekeeping. It's gatekeeping by saying, you, because of the way that you're born, I'm going to call attention to you with this word that is inherently negative whenever a white person says it. There's no other way that this word can be received, generally. Sure, there might be some black people that hear a word and they don't give a shit. I mean, it has to be Eric July because some of the friends that he's got, that they say that word. They do. So he has to be okay with it. All right, whatever. But generally, it's a word that is designed, historically was used by white people to cause harm. We've got a lot of people who believe that they are centrists and that they believe that they believe that they're actually the sensible ones when it comes to race issues and gender issues and stuff. And I'm not sure how to deal with that necessarily. Like, let's see what actually Ernie was pointing out here. If working with Nazis is the only way to keep the industry alive, fuck it, let it burn to ashes. But hey, Ripa wouldn't know anything about that. True. See, look, notice how this is what we're just talking about. Look at how Eric July's fucking dishonest, grifting ass. Mark Waid is delusional. He advertises that he won't even entertain arguments with opposing views to his own. I'm sure that Mark Waid is more than happy to entertain all sorts of arguments that oppose his views. The views that you're not talking about, Eric July, and you fucking know it, you fucking lying piece of shit, are things like, queer people being valid human beings and they shouldn't be targeted with harassment and be called fucking all kinds of crazy shit. And you know, that's the kind of shit that you are in favor of doing that, I'm sure Mark Waid is not cool with. If you've never noticed this stuff about these types of guys, I really encourage you to you know, focus on it every time one of these takes comes out or whatever, be like, what's he not saying? What's he trying to? What is the narrative he's trying to enact so that people aren't paying attention? All this discourse about working with the alt right, like, oh, you won't work with the alt right just to save the industry or whatever. It's like, well, first of all, the industry is not in that dire of desperate need. The direct market and retails, like physical retail stores, and then also periodicals on a longer timeline, are dwindling. They're that's just what is happening, and there's nothing about the insides of comic books that is making that happen. Anybody who thinks that it is this current thing that chuds are doing regarding the Mark Wade statement. And look, let me explain why it is that that's actually a pretty sane statement to make about the I'd rather the industry burn down than to ally with the alt right. Because yeah, the alt right at this point, to deny that they are anti-democracy, I mean, they are fascists, dude. I've been saying this on this channel for fucking 4 years. Sometimes people would get kind of like, oh, I don't know if that's, like not ready to call them the F word or whatever. Look at them, dude. Look at what's going on. How can you deny it at this point? It's just, I mean, at this point, if you're not able to see it, you're a you're a tool for them. I'm not saying you're a tool, but like you're essentially acting as you're still doing the reasonable doubt uh cover that they relied on for years, and I stopped giving it to them a few years ago. Um, we're gonna reasonable doubt ourselves to fucking death. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, except that's just not true, right? Like that's not even something that they can say that makes any sense. You know, which is not doesn't make sense. Because everything that they believe is fake. It's fictional. The things that they believe that yeah, the things that they believe Biden is doing or has done and stuff, it's just like fucking divorced from reality. Go look at Rumble. Go look at, I don't know, the right-wing website and just look at the kinds of narratives that they've been fucking sucking down for years at this point, and they've only gotten increasingly more deranged and disconnected. Yeah, because everything that they say is a confession. All their accusations are confessions. I think that yeah, I mean, I think that isolation did, but like the thing that is the most damaging is misinformation. Um, because like I had mental health challenges in during lockdown and shit. I had a severe depression and stuff, but because I didn't, I'm not like being told to blame all my problems on everybody outside of me and like look at these people. Like I'm perfectly fine being introspective. I'm perfectly fine going, oh yeah, I'm having some depression issues and I'm going to do this treatment to take care of that. And now I'm much better, much better. Haven't had any depression since then. But so a lot of people had mental health challenges, not necessarily when insane, but like a lot of these people have been fed misinformation for years and years and years. And then some of them not even that long, just a couple of years. A lot of people that were pretty apolitical or uninvolved and stuff got into QAnon and shit like that during the pandemic. And once something like that takes hold of your mind, once something is telling you everything that you're seeing, the mainstream narrative or whatever is a lie. They're trying to control you. They're evil and they like all this stuff, like all that. That's all. It has an effect of reprogramming your brain. And so you think you are so confident that you are operating in reality, in the real reality that nobody else can see. But there's no evidence to actually support it. And meanwhile, what's actually happened is that you have become cult indoctrinated. At the same exact time, crawling chaos, like a cult. Yeah, that is part of it, is that there's a lot of people that don't feel like they, and rightfully so to a degree, like feel that society has fucked them over and let them down. And it has a lot of people, because of the capitalism, but they're being kind of grabbed and pointed towards something that isn't really the problem, right? For example, you guys listen to I'm gonna play a clip here of a guy talking about his politics. You know, and I want you guys to tell me what you think he's trying to say, and whether or not this makes any sense you know to address the problems of the day.
President Eric July, you are now been nominated, or you're being sworn in. You're now the President of the United States. What would you do to fix America and fix these culture wars people are at each other's throats?
I think that's the fundamental problem, is that people think that it's going to come from, often, be it some politician or something. I do believe that the issues that plague America are cultural, and they certainly start there. Even Breitbart understood that, so the politics is on the downstream of culture. So if you want to...
God, he's so fucking stupid, guys. Like, he is such a fucking moron. Yeah, Breitbart did say that, and Breitbart was a huge piece of shit, but he was absolutely right about that. But Eric is not right about how he's interpreting that. This is the same one with Destiny. Same one. Yeah, he's built for like a brick. Yes. Politics are downstream from culture. And what that means is, you can see it. You can see it play out. You can see that it's the exact reason why chuds do what they do. It's the exact reason that they grift the way that they grift, and the way that they are constantly throwing out narratives regarding movies and stuff like that. They've had an increasingly difficult time getting narratives to stick lately, as we call it around here. The reason they do that is because, okay, so I talked about it. I have a video from a while back, a few weeks, called Culture War Chuds Have Destroyed Their Benefit of the Doubt, right? And it's got a dog with a whistle on the thumbnail. And it's just kind of like me talking about, it's after that basically, like, at one point 4 years ago, right? They could make more convincing cases that they weren't, that we just want better stories or whatever. Like, we're blah, blah, blah. We want politics out. We don't want any politics, right? Those types of things that, a lot of people even then knew it was bullshit, but they at least could kind of like hide behind that to a degree, and could probably convince a lot of people that was the case. But now, since they've had, they've full throat supported January 6th. They've had Alex Jones on twice. They've had fucking Gavin McInnes on. You look and you see that, like, several of these people are directly connected to or employed by, speaking of one on the screen right now, literal right-wing fucking propaganda outlets. They don't have any fucking benefit of the doubt left. It's all gone. As long as you're looking and paying attention. It's clear what they are. What he's saying here is essentially, he's saying that the change isn't going to come from the politicians. Well, no, it's not. Like, politicians aren't going to do shit on their own, unprovoked. You have to fucking, first of all, vote for and politicians that are gonna, as best as you can tell, actually attempt to make changes for people. And then that's just the start, right? Then you need to organize. You need to put ideas out there. You need to help people understand, complex issues and push back on misinformation. And these are all things that play a part in getting the politicians to do the things that you have voted for them to do. Because what's the alternative? So what they're talking about, ending this culture war, right? It's not a real thing. But it is in the sense that they are waging a culture assault, right? Um, there's no practical, pragmatic way to stop people from engaging in what you see as a culture war. The only possible thing that you can do if you're in power and you're trying to prevent a culture war from continuing. And what they mean by that is, these trans people being trans, and these black people saying, "Hey, our lives matter," and stuff like that. What they mean is that. And how do you stop that from happening? You restrict freedom of speech. It's the only literal way that you can do that. There is no fucking other way to do what they're talking about their stated goals are. And we've already seen it. We've already seen it with, DeSantis's don't say gay bill. We've seen it it's just the only fucking possible thing that can come of people talking that way about the problems in culture. Right? It's true. Yeah, it's just like the war on Christmas, right? Like it's just a thing to complain about at the very least, so that they can play victim, and then they can distract their audiences or their voters or whatever from the fact that the people that are in power don't give a shit about the people. In particular, the people on the right. Like, when you think about the problems that are actually like the real tangible problems that are a lot of Americans are facing all the time these days. You know, inflation, rising rent costs, stagnant wages, no fucking healthcare, all this stuff. And then you look at what the right is actually focused on. That's fucking insane, man. It's actually insane. So just think about that every time from now on that someone's talking about we got to end the culture wars or whatever, put a stop to this stuff. They're saying they want to control speech.
Address these issues is not to say that politicians are, let's say, excused, because they certainly are. If anybody watches my content, I'm always ragging on government, and if it was up to me, I'd abolish everything. But abolishing everything doesn't mean that the problems are going to fix itself, because they're not. It is very much a cultural issue, and I despise the fact that a lot of our conversations surrounding the issues that America faces, some politician being instilled, or groups of politicians being instilled to implement something that will then resolve everybody's problems, especially financial, when oftentimes they were the ones that caused it. So, but I do believe that a lot of these issues, they're not going to come from government. It's going to come from people, just.
So the reason that's fucking idiotic is so first of all, he said the issues aren't going to cut. You means the solutions, I guess. He's just throwing words out. The solutions to the problems are going to come from the people using the mechanism that is in place to create change for people, which is government. You fucking dipshit. Libertarians are fucking stupid, dude. I swear to God. Like, we don't know how to utilize our political system in this country. That's for sure. Like, a lot of people need to come to fucking Jesus, so to speak, about understanding what the government is for. And it should be strictly a utilitarian view of this thing. Take a utilitarian view of what the government should be, and don't fucking idolize these people. Don't fucking put them up on pedestals and act like they represent me. No, you fucking get the person who has shown that they are going to do what they say they're going to do, and that those things that they're saying they're going to do and want to do are proven methods for making a better society, for benefiting the most people possible, and that there's evidence for that, right? That's important. And then you vote for that person, you organize, and then if they start fucking up, you let them know about it. It just, to say that the people are how the fuck are the people just going to change the problems in the country? Like that, what the fuck is he talking about? like just get together and like they hold hands and they go, "Oh, change, hum, hum, hum." They fucking like hum and like they start glowing and shit, and then things just change. How the fuck does that happen? I mean, not really, man, because like there's no guarantee that the the people that get first of all, that's basically saying, CJH, that you're fine with a lot of people dying. Like you're fine with a lot of people dying, and the people that would die would be the most marginalized and least powerful, have the least power in society. See what you're saying with this statement, and I don't believe you would say this, but maybe you'll think about this being the implication going forward. Queer people, fuck them. We got to build this country back up from the ground up. So we just fuck queer people. Disabled people, sorry about your luck, man. Y'all are fucked. Because we got to build this country back up. Let's see, old people. Well, you had your run. Y'all can fuck off. Because we got to build a country here. That's what this is saying. Because if the society collapsed, the protections that are in place, the often meager ones, would be the first things to go. So just anybody that ever thinks that this is like a good idea, consider the real world consequences of of society collapsing, right? Yeah, it's basically saying you want it. You're not that you want it. I'm sure you'd feel real bad about it, but you're cool with the genocide if that means that we get a chance at building some vague. But the thing is that who's going to take power if society collapses, if the government collapses? The people that are going to seize power are the people that have already shown that they're perfectly willing to do that without any consideration for democracy or what people want. They've already shown it, and they also have a lot of guns, and they're perfectly fucking willing to use them. That's just really got to think about the factors at play here. And I know you weren't saying any of that, CJH. I know you weren't saying any of that about people that get, it's one thing to have a kind of like a vague thought of like oh man, society gotta, we gotta burn it down so we can build it back up. It's literally a lyric in one of tangible result of that would be pretty fucking horrifying. And honestly, there's no guarantee that we would even have a chance to build back as anything that we would want to see. The thing that the chuds are doing right now, currently, they're, because they are very good. I'm going to give them credit here. I'm going to give them compliments. They are very good at getting on message. You know what I mean? So like once they identify that, oh, this is the message, this is a narrative that's working, it's getting our hooks in. They just they're right there, man. They fucking right there on it. And so I wanted to kind of take a step back, and it's important to do because they fire hose blast us with these fucking narratives and claims all the time, and it's hard to think about what were they saying 6 months ago or something like that. You know what I mean? But like essentially right now, because what Mark Wade said, right? That basically I would not work with the people that are, Comicsgate is who he's talking about. And he's not wrong. They are the alt-right. Of course they would quibble and say, oh, what is alt-right? Whatever, everything you don't like is alt-right. And it's like, nah, man, you can't do that anymore. You see what I'm saying? Like you can't fucking keep doing that for 8 years in a row. Because now there's plenty of patterns visible for all to see. We've all seen it. We've seen this stuff play out over and over and over and over again. You can't keep doing that 2016 fucking tactic of, oh, it's just, everything you don't like is alt-right. It's like, nah, man, you're alt-right. That's actually a symptom of probably being alt-right when someone says that shit at this point, because it's just their go-to. But right now they seem to be acting indignant. They're clutching their pearls. Because the wokies, the left or whatever, like what that means is just the comic book industry, the mainstream comic book industry, which they always talk shit on. They always say is terrible. And now they're upset because one writer said a hyperbolic kind of like nothing statement. Like he's not threatening to burn down the fucking industry. You can't burn down this industry anyway. It's not something that could really be done. It just shows how desperate they are. Also, though, the people that they want to, that they're acting upset that they can't align, that won't align with them. Haven't they been calling us fucking groomers and like all kinds of shit for fucking years now? What happened to that? What? They just don't care about that anymore? Huh? What? What? Like literally anybody who would say, "Oh, actually, I think that it's, should be legal to be gay," or whatever, like, trans people are valid. Groomer, groomer. And now they're like, "We want to work with you and we feel sad cuz you don't want to fucking work with us cuz we're fucking fascists." It's disingenuous bullshit, man. Just always, it's a good idea just to on a regular basis think back to what have they said about us or the people that they're now trying to act indignant that won't work with them or whatever. Like most of you motherfuckers have talked about how much better doing your own indie shit is than the mainstream industry. So just go do that. No one's saying, don't do that. They like to accuse me, and I'm sure others have seen this, that like I don't like that they're making these comics or whatever. It's like I don't give a fuck what comics you make, dude. I really don't. I never have. I'm sure there's stuff in Cyberfrog or whatever the fuck. Is any of these terrible looking comics that I could point to and go, look, they're terrible people that think this, he's saying that, and whatever. And it's like, but I don't care. Make comics about whatever fucking thing you want to. I believe in that. I will fight for your fucking right to do that. What I am against is the way that they lie, the way that they grift, the way that they fucking throw, often queer people, people of color, women under the fucking bus of their narrative. Here at AF, we work hard to make sure we've got the facts to back up every accusation of chuddery, that we're entertaining every time we spotlight some fascistic film fandom flimflamer, culture vulture, Star Wars swindler, or comics con man. And by we, I mean me. And while I'm certainly not doing it for money, I do need to buy a new PC soon for continued editing and streaming. That's why I want to express my deep gratitude for my support on Patreon from dopest members like William, Michael, and Smirking Gun. That's not to say that the members at the chillest and basest tiers are any less appreciated. But even if you can't swing it, you can follow me for free on Patreon and still get some exclusive content and opportunities to chat directly with me. YouTube makes us give every ounce of ourselves. Sometimes it feels like we're being milked dry. Support at any level is hits.
Though infinity beckons, I must leave behind my very heart. I've seen galaxies crumble and new suns a-borning, but in every star, in every sun, I see her face. Where soars the Silver Surfer, there must he soar alone.